Welcome to Beyond the Evidence. Today we're covering the heartbreaking case of Ariel Sellers, also known as Isabella Kalua. This beautiful 6-year-old girl from Wimanalo, Hawaii, went missing from her adoptive parents' home in September 2021. This case has raised serious questions about the child welfare system and how Isabella was placed with the Kaluas despite their troubling background. Join me right after this for this information. Hi everyone, welcome to Beyond the Evidence. This is the channel where justice matters. My name is Marv. I am a true crime fanatic, and I love to dig deeper into the mysteries of unsolved cases. Join me as we search for missing persons, uncover the clues in unsolved murders, follow along with jury trials, and we'll be a voice for the voiceless. I'll share with you the facts, the theories, the clues, the evidence, and the controversies that surround these cases. This is Beyond the Evidence. Welcome back, everyone. Once again, today we're doing a broad overview of the Ariel Sellers, also known as Isabella Kalua case out of Hawaii. We're going to do a broad overview, and then we're going to get into this in more detail in upcoming live streams. Thank you to all of those who are joining me in chat and who may be watching this on the replay. Please click the like button, subscribe, and if you enjoyed the content, become a member today. Ariel was born on August 18th, 2015 in Waimanalo, Hawaii. Her biological parents are Melanie Joseph and Adam Sellers. Ariel lived with her biological mother. Her father and mother did not live together and were not married. They had separate living arrangements. Ariel's early years were filled with love and laughter, but her home life was far from perfect. You see, her mother struggled with drug addiction, which eventually led to the removal of Ariel and her siblings from their care by Child Protective Services. Melina and Adam had criminal histories related to drug offenses, which contributed to the loss of the custody of the children. Ariel was removed from her mother's custody by Child Protective Services, and it's assumed that Child Protective Services allegedly determined that her father was not a suitable guardian at the time because Ariel was placed with her grandmother. Initially, Ariel's grandmother became her legal guardian along with her siblings. However, after her partner was seriously injured in an accident, the grandmother struggled to care for Ariel and her 4 sisters. This led to the children being placed in foster care in 2019. The Kaluas, Isaac Sonny Kalua III and Leua Kalua, were approved as foster parents despite their troubling backgrounds. Isaac had felony convictions for terroristic threatening and assault. Lahua had a past felony drug case, which was dismissed after she graduated from drug court in 2002. The child welfare system exercised discretion in improving them as foster and adoptive parents, considering their current circumstances and perceived rehabilitation. Ariel and her siblings were placed with the Kaluas in February of 2019, and the adoption was finalized for Ariel and I believe 2 or 3 other siblings on January 26, 2021. And that is when all of them were placed with the Kalua family. Leua and Isaac Kalua, who had a history of violent crimes, including second-degree assault charges, became foster parents and eventually the adoptive parents. Despite their criminal records, they were allowed to adopt Ariel and her siblings due to systemic failures in the child welfare system. When they adopted Ariel, they changed her name. Her name that she was given by the Kaluas was Isabella Kalua. Therefore, we are going to refer to her as Isabella going forward. Now, there were concerns about Isabella's well-being, and they grew when her biological mother noticed signs of physical abuse during a visit. Despite these red flags, the adoption went through. Isabella was reported missing by her adoptive parents on the morning of September 13, 2021. They claimed they saw her when they put her to bed the night before. Once she was reported missing, the community, the biological family, and law enforcement launched extensive searches. Now, Hawaii's not that big. They searched this whole island multiple times from top to bottom. And as you can see, there's even numbers on here for certain areas so that they could keep track of the areas that were searched. But I can guarantee you that it was said by the biological family that every inch of this island, along with areas outside of it, were searched. They combed through Waimanalo and surrounding areas. News channels like KHON2 and Civil Beat covered the search efforts extensively. Despite the community's, the biological, and law enforcement's efforts, the search was suspended after a week. Law enforcement continued to investigate, uncovering disturbing evidence that pointed to foul play. Items related to Isabella were found in a canal area on a military base, and witnesses reported that Ariel was kept in a dog cage and duct tape was used. She was subjected to severe abuse by the Kaluas. Now, I have not covered any information that any of her other siblings were treated like this. But my investigation into this case is just starting. Police believe Isabella went missing around mid-August, a month before she was reported missing. Witnesses suggest that she died due to the abuse inflicted by her adoptive parents. Now, this witness is one of Isabella's older sisters. I can tell you that. So, the information that the police were receiving is coming straight from inside the home. The Kaluas, and I'm going to show a picture here. This is Isaac, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right, but Lehau, along with Isabella. The Kaluas have been charged with second-degree murder, and the investigation is ongoing. Disturbing evidence such as surveillance footage and testimonies from Isabella's siblings has further implicated the adoptive parents. However, evidence soon suggested a much darker reality. Isabella's older sister testified that she saw Isabella in a dog cage with duct tape on her mouth and nose. She also mentioned that Isabella was not breathing at this time. Surveillance footage from the Kaluas' home showed suspicious behavior. They were carrying a large trash bag out of the house around the time Isabella was last seen. Court documents and police reports indicated that Isabella was subjected to severe abuse. Not only was she kept in a dog cage, duct taped, and beaten. The Kaluas were accused of neglecting her basic needs, including food and medical care. So, what case does this remind you of? To me, it reminds me of Harmony Renee. Once again, a young child. Isabella was 6 years old. Was reported missing in this case. However, police believe that this happened a month prior. And to this day, Isabella has not been found, just like Harmony Renee. Yes, and she only ate at family gatherings. So, not only was she kept in a dog cage and had duct tape on her and beaten, but she was starved. A lot of parallels to the Harmony Renee case. The Kaluas were arrested on November 10th, 2021, and charged with second-degree murder, hindering prosecution, and multiple counts of endangering the welfare of a minor. They have pleaded not guilty and are currently awaiting trial. Their next court appearance is scheduled for January of 2025. This case has been plagued by multiple continuances, attorneys asking to be dismissed from the case, such as the Sarah Boone case, which we'll be covering also. There's been, I believe, 3 requests to have their current attorney dismissed. They now, as of, I believe, July or August, have a new attorney, and that is why the case and the hearings have been pushed out since, or to January of 2025. But as you can see, this happened in 2021, and it's taking a long time for them to get this going. These kind of monsters make me sick. Absolutely. Absolutely. The case has seen several hearings, with the most recent update being that the trial is set to start in January of 2025. The community continues to seek justice for Isabella, and her biological family remains hopeful for answers. Isabella's story is a heartbreaking reminder of the flaws in our child welfare system. Her biological family continues to fight for justice and the return of her siblings. And we're going to go into this in more detail. We're going to talk about the CPS involvement, why the Kaluas were given custody of Isabella and her siblings, how the system failed these children. I'm in the process of getting the indictment on this case, and some other documents also. Now, I do know that Sleuth Mom, who is another creator on YouTube, has covered this case extensively. So please go and take a look at her content. I'm going to get in contact with her to help see if she'll help me with some of my research on this story. But we are going to continue to cover Isabella's story and raise awareness and demand accountability. Please share her story and help us ensure that no child suffers the same fate. Now, some of the other information that I found on this case, I'm going to go over briefly here. Let me just get it on my screen. It's heartbreaking to hear these stories. Absolutely heartbreaking. So she and her 4 siblings were with her biological parents. Life was okay, but once again, addictions hampered that, and these children were taken away. So I'm just getting to some of my other information. And they were taken away from the parents because there was concerns about their ability to provide a safe and stable environment due to their addictions. One of the things that take place when your child is removed from your home is that you have to make specific efforts. And the judge orders certain things to be done before you can be reunited with your children. Generally, in cases where children are removed from their biological parents, child welfare agencies often work on reunification plans. And these plans typically include parenting classes, helps parents develop better parenting skills, substance abuse treatment. Parents might be required to complete treatment programs, counseling and therapy, both for the parents and the children, to address any underlying issues. Regular check-ins. Social workers often conduct regular visits to monitor progress and ensure the safety of the children. And then eventually they could get supervised visitation, allowing parents to maintain a relationship with their children under supervision. In Isabella's case, the details of such efforts remain unclear until I get further into my investigation. And this tragic outcome has led to significant scrutiny of the child welfare system. Now, this is not the first time that we have heard this, right? We have heard cases all over the United States where child welfare has not stepped in to protect these kids. Gabriel Fernandez. There's 3 other cases around his area in California of children that passed away at the hands of their parents or the people that were supposed to be their parents. Harmony Renee. I'm sure that I could quote you, if I looked them all up, thousands of cases that this happens in. It's heartbreaking. It's like the parents, they bend over backwards to help these parents. But when it comes to the kids getting removed, they settle them with someone and then they forget about them. And that has to change. Absolutely has to change. Whether you're a foster parent or you have adopted a child because the biological rights have been taken away, there needs to be follow-up on where that child or children go. Terrible when they go from bad to worse. Orrin and Orson West is another case. Absolutely. These children are supposed to be taken out of these bad homes and put in a safe and stable environment. And they're not. They're going to places that are even worse. Thanks, Mark and Betty. Gibbo says it's all about the money. Absolutely. There are not enough caseworkers in child protective services around the world. Their caseload is abundant. There are so many children suffering, like Isabella. And they're sent to these homes of foster parents and parents who adopt these children, and they're not monitored for a significant time, and they should be. because over and over again we keep hearing about these situations happening. There should be a special court made up of council of peers to decide. Something has to be done. Something. Because we cannot keep moving these children from a bad situation to an even worse situation. This little girl was taken from her family because her parents, they had concerns about her welfare and stability. Yet they gave her to a couple that kept her in a cage, a dog cage, starved her, beat her, and then put duct tape over her mouth and nose. Does another case ring your bell with the duct tape over the mouth and the nose? I can tell you who that reminds me of. Kaylee Anthony. What a mess. It's terrible. Many of the prospective foster parents aren't well intended, unfortunately. No. I don't know how they are vetting these foster parents, but there needs to be specific laws on this. Who can and cannot become a foster parent? Foster parents need to have training to deal with these children. These are not normal children. They're coming from broken homes. They're coming from bad situations where their care was lacking in the first place. And to turn around and give these individuals who have records terroristic threatening, I mean, come on. How does that happen? It shouldn't be happening in today's world. There's a lot of things that should not be happening in today's world. But Gibbo is right. The almighty dollar, that is what motivates these people. There needs to be a reform on child protective services across the United States. It's sickening. I am a woman who had to go through fertility to have my daughter. There are other women like me who will take care of these children, love them unconditionally, spoil them rotten, that can't have kids. And they turn around, CPS turns around and gives this child, this 6-year-old little girl, to a couple and lets them adopt her that has a criminal background? Are you kidding me? And to this day, once again, this little girl's body has never been found. Sorry about that. She's never been found. So once again, we have another child laying somewhere that has not been buried properly. And the worst part of it is that she had family members that would have taken her. The biological family. She had aunts and uncles that could have given her a stable life and protected her. So why didn't CPS give custody of Ariel or Isabella, same child, just two different names, born as Ariel, adopted and name changed to Isabella? Why didn't CPS give these biological family members a chance to raise this little girl? I don't get it. Makes you wonder if they should go back to an improved orphanage type of facility and work to make them better. I don't know what the answer is to this, but something has to be done. Because what we're doing now is not working. And the part that really angers me in all of this is that CPS is protected. Each and every single time a child dies, and it's because of their hands and their actions or lack thereof, they are not held accountable. And they should be. But it's all about the almighty dollar. As I said, these caseworkers, they have too many cases on their hands. They cannot properly follow up on them. I've always wondered and thought, could I become a social worker? Could I do this? And each and every single time, the answer is no. Because it would kill me. It would kill me to see what is going on with these children. I agree with you, Miracle Hearts. And like I said, I have so much research to do on this case. It's not even funny. So I did look into a little bit here. Like I said, this is a general overview. But I did look into why they had a suspicion of foul play. And from what I could gather, there was several pieces of evidence gathered during the investigation. One of them was inconsistent statements. The adoptive parents provided inconsistent statements about Isabella's disappearance, which raised red flags for investigators. Of course, it should have. But if CPS had been involved, they should have caught on to those red flags even sooner. Surveillance footage, as I said, there was footage from the home and surrounding areas, did not support the claims about Ariel's last known whereabouts. There was no evidence that someone went into that house that night and took this little girl. Oh, I would too, Andrea. I would too. And then think about this. This is 5 kids that are affected. Isabella is, according to police, and they did have a judge pronounce her deceased, even though she hasn't been found. So you have her who has lost her life, but you have 4 siblings that watched what she went through. And the oldest sister is going to testify as to what she saw. Then you have testimony from neighbors and other witnesses contradicting the adoptive parents' account of events. You have items found during searches of the home and the property suggesting foul play. This included, now you can tell when something has been tried to be cleaned up. So this included evidence of attempts to clean up or conceal a potential crime scene. They also have forensic analysis of the evidence collected, pointed towards her death occurring much earlier than reported. So you know that they had to have found some kind of biological evidence of Isabella in that house. Because we all know you can try to clean it up the best you can, but when they go in there with luminol, they find it. And they're still able to test it even after cleaning chemicals have been used. So all of these things, along with some pictures found by a dumpster of Isabella after her disappearance, along with other materials found in a canal or by a canal, you start combining all of that together and you realize, police realized, that this little girl, this 6-year-old beautiful little girl, once again, beautiful, 6 years old, her life was taken by these monsters who were supposed to be her parents and give her a better life. And instead, what did they do? They made it worse. And you know what the worst part of all of this is? You still have 4 siblings that survived. And despite this couple being charged with Isabella's murder, they still retain the parental rights over her siblings. How does that work? Their rights should have been terminated immediately. And my question is, why weren't they? Yeah, how is that possible? Well, we don't know. But I'm sure that once this goes to trial, we're going to hear some about what happened, if anything, to the other sisters. Or is this a case that we've seen many, many times where there are multiple siblings and they take everything out on one? It breaks my heart. Why would you single out a child and starve them, beat them, and put them in a cramped dog crate? Who in their right mind thinks that that is the correct parenting tactic? No, they're not living with their family. Um, I'm still trying to research on where the four siblings are. It's absolutely disgusting. Miracle Hearts. It absolutely is. So, once again, this couple is charged with taking this beautiful little girl's lives. They don't have enough money for an attorney, so attorneys are appointed to each one of them. As I said, there's been 3 instances of their attorney requesting to be withdrawn from the case, and each time they were allowed to. I believe they are on their 3rd or 4th attorney, each one of them. We can't be guaranteed that, Boston. That's part of the biggest problem of all of this. Is DCFS, CPS, we can't trust that they are looking out for these children. They are in jail. They did not get it. Their bond was denied. I can tell you that. And not only is that all bad enough, but there are concerns about the secrecy surrounding family court proceedings in this case. People have asked for the documents from CPS, not getting them. Don't have to give those out because it was an adoption. There is a motion to unseal the Kalua family court records. So far, from what I have researched, that has not been granted. The family court records related to the Kaluas and Isabella's siblings have been sealed, meaning the details of the proceedings are not publicly accessible. So you cannot do a FOIA request and get any of the information. The lack of transparency has raised concerns among the public and media as it prevents a full understanding of the decisions and actions taken by the court regarding the welfare of Isabella's siblings. So, as I said, the Kaluas have obtained and kept their parental rights. So, how does this affect the siblings that are still here? Well, it would frustrate efforts to ensure their safety and stability. How does this do that? Well, finding a permanent foster or adoptive family, providing educational opportunities, and preventing emotional harm to the children. So it sounds like these children are in temporary foster homes because they can't go to a permanent one because they still have parental rights. The Kaluas do. One of Isabella's surviving siblings spent more than a year in detained custody. Not because she did anything wrong, but because the state of Hawaii was unable to secure a stable foster family for her. This was due to the Kalua's objections asserting their parental rights through legal counsel. Now, I know that another sibling, I don't know if it's the same sibling or not, had the opportunity to go and attend a really good school. She was denied that opportunity because the adoptive parents said no, and nobody could stop them because they still have parental rights over the child. Exactly. Who are they protecting? We all know that in the Gabriel Fernandez case, they actually brought charges against the caseworker and the manager and several other people in CPS. And that was dropped. Never went through a trial. So it set a precedence. And the biggest thing is I'm not surprised by this. The judge who allowed the adoption to go through, Judge Jesse Hale, family court judge, who approved the placement of the children with this the Kaluas, suddenly recused herself from the case without an explanation. Why is that? Well, you know why that is. The judge, allowed this couple to adopt these children, and one of them is no longer alive. That's on her. Just like it's on the judge that gave Adam Montgomery custody of Harmony. But you can't touch them. They're a judge. Yeah, you're right. She didn't want to be responsible, but she is. So, not only do we need a reform of child protective services across the United States, we need something that says these judges can be held accountable for giving these children to these individuals. it infuriates me. It makes me so sick. There is so much evil out in the world today. And these kids don't have a chance. Not when they're affected by that evil. They're kids. They can't do anything. As I said, Isabella has been pronounced deceased by a judge. She's declared deceased. And the adoptive parents are in jail waiting for their trial. Under the extreme facts, the secrecy generally afforded to these types of cases should yield to openness. Otherwise, the public will never have access to the information necessary to ensure the proper functioning and oversight of the foster care and adoptive procedures that are part of the state's child welfare system. We don't have that right now because everything is hidden. It's all kept hush hush. And the reason that they put in this motion to unseal this information is so that the state of Hawaii will need to explain to a judge why it won't reveal its actions in this case of severe abuse. The motion aims to bring transparency to the foster care and adoption proceedings to ensure proper oversight and functioning of the state's child welfare system. And I'm sure that this is going to get denied. And it shouldn't. There should be transparency and openness in each and every single one of these cases. How can we fix what is broken if we don't know exactly what it is? Yes, there is zero accountability in the system. Matthew 18:10, see that you do not despise any of these little children. I tell you that in heaven they have angels that see the face of our Father in heaven. That is comforting, but it shouldn't even be needed. But it does. It is needed because these children are dying quicker than we can report on it. Do you realize how many of these missing cases that we have aren't solved because they're actually murders? But law enforcement doesn't treat a missing person case like a murder. And they should, because they should be investigating both types of cases the same way, especially since a lot of these missing person cases do get put into the murdered category. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people that do go missing. They choose to leave and go missing. Some have accidents. Some are found in the water years later by mistake or by organizations that actually go looking for them. But in these cases, this is intentional. These people are choosing to harm these children and to take their lives. And that's something that we need to talk about. So I'm going to try to do one day a week Ariel's case, Isabella's case, as I get more information, because I think it's important for us to talk about this. I'll give you information. We can have open discussions about it. Somebody's got to come up with a plan on how to fix this, because it's got to stop. We're losing too many children because of this. Thank you for joining me tonight to learn about Ariel Sellers, also known as Isabella Kalua. We need to keep talking about these stories so that in the future, policies, procedures with how these children are taken from a home and given to another home are corrected. And so that these children can grow up and become adults and live happy lives and not have their life taken from them. Stay tuned for more updates. And remember, subscribe to Beyond the Evidence for more in-depth investigations. Isabella's story is not the only one that we're going to be looking into. But we certainly will continue following this case and looking into it, because justice matters for the Seller family, her biological family members, and for Isabella. Thanks for joining me, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you for watching Beyond the Evidence. Today, I gave you my own opinions and analysis, but I always encourage you to do your own research and form your own conclusions. If you're interested in true crime and want to join me on this journey of discovery, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of my uploads. If you'd like to support the channel, join our membership, and if you have any suggestions for cases that you want me to cover, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and remember, justice matters. This is Beyond the Evidence, and I'll see you in the next video.